What is the Doomsday Clock and why midnight is considered the point of no return? In the University of Chicago's Keller Center, a simple clock sits frozen at 89 seconds to midnight. There is no ticking sound, no countdown timer. And yet, each January, this symbolic clock captures global attention, from newsrooms and nuclear war rooms to climate science labs and policy circles. This is the Doomsday Clock, not a scientific instrument, but a warning sign, crafted by atomic scientists and artists in the aftermath of World War II. It marks not the passage of time, but how little time humanity may have left before it self-destructs. Updated just once a year, the clock's minute hand has become a powerful barometer of global crisis. And in January 2025, it moved again. Just 89 seconds to midnight. The closest we've ever been to metaphorical annihilation. So what exactly is the Doomsday Clock? Who decides where its hands go, and what will happen if the clock strikes midnight? What is the Doomsday Clock? The Doomsday Clock is a metaphorical timepiece symbolizing humanity's proximity to global catastrophe, such as nuclear war or climate collapse. Created in 1947 by scientists from the Manhattan Project, the clock is updated each year by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists to warn the public of growing existential threats, both man-made and preventable. The time on the clock reflects a judgment, not a prediction. The closer to midnight, the greater the danger. This year, the bulletin moved the hands to 89 seconds to midnight, the closest humanity has ever been to symbolic self-destruction. Where did the clock come from? The Doomsday Clock was originally conceived by Martel Langsdorff, an abstract landscape artist married to Manhattan Project physicist Alexander Langsdorff Jr. In 1947, she was asked to design a cover for the Bulletin's first issue as a magazine. Moved by the urgency she sensed from scientists debating nuclear risk, she sketched a minimalist clock with hands set at 7 minutes to midnight, purely for visual impact. Behind the symbolism lay deep regret. Many Manhattan Project scientists, including Leo Szilard and James Franck, had warned against using the atomic bomb on civilians. After the Hiroshima bombing, Szilard called it one of the greatest blunders in history. Within weeks, these scientists created the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists to raise public awareness of the dangers posed by nuclear weapons. How is the Doomsday Clock set? Initially, the Bulletin's founding editor Eugene Rabinowitz, a scientist and arms control advocate, alone decided the clock's time. After his death in 1973, the responsibility passed to the Science and Security Board, a group of 18 experts in nuclear policy, climate science, international security, and emerging technologies. Today, the board meets twice a year, consulting widely with global experts and Nobel laureates. In addition to scientific data, they consider and they do not forecast the future but make evidence-based assessments of current threats and societal responses. Why was it moved to 89 seconds this year? On January 28, 2025, the Bulletin reset the clock to 89 seconds to midnight, its closest-ever position, citing that the world has not made sufficient progress on existential risks threatening all of humanity, said Daniel Holtz, chair of the Science and Security Board. When you are at this precipice, the one thing you don't want to do is take a step forward. A brief history. How often has the clock moved since 1947? The Doomsday Clock has been adjusted 26 times. Some of the most notable moments include notably, the clock was not moved during the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962, as too little was known publicly about the standoff at the time. What happens if the clock strikes midnight? Midnight represents global catastrophe, not a literal event, but a metaphor for nuclear war, irreversible climate collapse, or technological meltdown. It is intended to shock, not predict. Originally tied to atomic warfare, the metaphor has since expanded. As Rachel Bronson, president and CEO of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, explained in an interview with the University of Chicago's Big Brains podcast, there are tipping points in climate that you can't come back from. The clock is a warning that we may not feel the consequences until it's too late. Why do some people dismiss it while the Doomsday Clock garners international headlines? Critics question its scientific basis. Some argue that the clock is too symbolic and subjective, lacking scientific rigor or a clearly defined methodology. They point out that it does not quantify risk in measurable terms and has no predictive accuracy. Others see it as Western-centric, shaped largely by American and European perspectives on global threats. There's also criticism that the clock's 1 CE adjustment feels out of sync with rapidly evolving global crises, and that its dramatic framing may provoke alarm rather than action. How the Doomsday Clock entered pop culture over the decades. The clock has become more than a scientific symbol, it has become a pop culture icon. In the acclaimed Watchmen comics and their film and TV adaptations, the ticking clock becomes a literal countdown to nuclear war, mirroring Cold War anxieties. British heavy metal band Iron Maiden's 1984 hit 2 Minutes to Midnight directly references the clock, critiquing the arms race and political brinkmanship. Even in the X-Men universe, especially in stories like Days of Future Past, time is a recurring symbol of extinction-level threats, echoing the same existential urgency. Its visual simplicity makes it an enduring metaphor across art, cinema, literature, and political commentary. Swipe left for next video. Why the clock still matters in an age of disinformation and short attention spans. The Doomsday Clock endures because it translates complex global threats into a simple, universal image. When the bulletin moves the hands, the world takes notice, not because the clock is infallible, but because the danger is real. Latest blogs.